So the first step is going to be to turn on the radio, and we do that with this lower right knob. We need to press and hold it until the radio comes to life. At this point in time, we're going to take note of the display. We're going to locate the main icon, and if you can see it up here, that black elliptical shape is the main icon. That indicates which of the two radios is active. This FT-8900R has two radios built in, so we'll call this the left band and the right band, or the left side and the right side. They can each be set to independent radios, be it a simplex or a repeater function. In the case on the left here, we are tuned to a simplex frequency called CBCERT, and on the right side we're set to a frequency called PAL 730, and that is a repeater. You might take note of the small number in the upper left corner, this little guy up here, the 6 above the CB-CERT, and the 26 above the PAL 730. That indicates the channel memory number for that channel. And that also is an indication to us that the radio is in channel memory mode. It is not in VFO mode. We'll come back to this in case you find the radio in VFO mode and how to rectify that. Let's talk about approaching the radio and the volume settings. The right and the left side each have their own volume setting, and you'll notice that there's a small white tag to indicate the position of the knob. I like to bring this up into about the 10 o'clock position on both sides. In addition to the volume controls, there is a squelch control. So this is the outer lower right knob, but there's an inner knob. And as I move this counterclockwise, I open the squelch, and as I move it clockwise, I'm closing down the squelch. Typically, especially on a repeater, we tune it just to the point where we remove the squelch. There may be other occasions when you're listening to perhaps a simplex signal that's weak. You would tend to open the squelch in order to perhaps hear a weaker signal. Once the volume knobs have been set, decide which of the two radios you want to operate from. Right now the main icon is over here, but if you wanted to switch this radio to the left side for transmitting, all you would need to do is push this button in, and you'll notice that icon jumps from the right to the left. So now if I transmit on the microphone, I'll be transmitting on the left channel. It doesn't matter which channel is used. I tend to like to put it on the right side because that's where the microphone is. That just seems more logical to me. There may be an occasion where you want to change the memory channel that's being tuned. In the upper, above the display, you see the number 6 and you see the number 26. If I want to change those channels, I can do so by rotating the upper knob. And we're now toggling through the various channels that have been predetermined and preset in this radio. Same for the left side. As we approach this radio, you'll notice there's no indication in the display what the power level setting is currently on this radio. But if you wanted to determine what the power is or change the power, you would use these buttons here called low, L-O-W. There's one for each side. So let's see what happens when we toggle this. Low, medium 2, medium 1, and high. And when we let go, it memorizes that signal. Let's see what happens if we were to leave it on low. It is a reminder that the radio is in low setting with that small L, a warning to us that perhaps we don't have enough power to get our signal out. So in general, because this is a mobile rig and it's set up on a power supply connected to wall power, we will leave this in high power. There may be an occasion where you want to determine what the frequency is that's associated with a given channel memory. Let's look at this one on the left side, for example. Channel 6 is set to CB cert. If you wanted to know what frequency that is, you can press and hold this low button. And it displays the frequency of 144.465. And that display will stay there instead of the channel name until you reverse the process. Press and hold, and we're back to the name of the channel. If you were to turn on this radio and find a display like this, you see frequencies in left and right. You see the main icon, meaning this side would transmit at 430 even. But you may want to navigate to one of the preset channels, and you'll notice there are no channel numbers and there's certainly no channel name in the display. That's a sign that the radio is in VFO mode as opposed to memory mode. And there is a button, one for each side, called V/M that will turn that back and forth between VFO mode, which is that, and memory mode, which is that. Again, we're now getting more indications. We're getting a channel number, we're getting the name of the channel, and as we toggle back and forth, we'll do it on both sides. There is a situation where the radio can be placed in a mode that sets it up for transmission over the internet, and we want to avoid that. We've actually taken steps with this radio to disable the consequences of this mode, but it's still possible to invoke the mode. So let's talk a moment about why you want to avoid doing this. As we know, the lower knob here adjusts the volume and the inner knob adjusts the squelch. However, this is a button push as well, and when we push this button once, it invokes this internet mode. Keep your eyes on the display here as we push this button. You saw INT on over here, and you see INT in the upper left corner, reminding us that we are in this mode. I'll push it again to get us back to normal operation. We're using a BNC connector here to make attaching and removing the antenna easier. In fact, when you're finished using the radio, you want to remove the antenna, just as a general practice. We talked about the power supply. This is the power supply, and there's the on-off button here.